Sarah Chen sat at the edge of her bed, hands trembling as she read the positive pregnancy test. After 3 years of trying, it had finally happened. She was going to be a mother. Tears of joy rolled down her cheeks as she imagined telling her husband Michael the news he'd been waiting for. Sarah carefully planned how to share the news with Michael. She bought a small pair of baby shoes and placed them on his dinner plate with a note saying coming soon. When Michael came home from work that evening, his reaction wasn't what she expected. "What is this?" he asked, holding up the tiny shoes. "We're having a baby," Sarah said, her voice filled with excitement. Michael's face didn't show happiness. Instead, his expression darkened. "Are you sure it's mine?" The words hit Sarah like a slap across the face. In 8 years of marriage, Michael had never questioned her loyalty. "What are you talking about? Of course it's yours." Michael pushed away from the table. "I need some air," he said, grabbing his jacket and keys. That night was the beginning of a nightmare for Sarah. Michael came home late, smelling of alcohol. When she tried to talk to him, he turned away. The next few weeks followed the same pattern, Michael staying out late, barely speaking to her, and sleeping on the couch. Sarah was 3 months pregnant when she found the text messages on Michael's phone. He had been seeing someone named Jessica for the past 4 months. The messages were filled with love declarations and plans for their future together. When Sarah confronted Michael, he didn't deny it. "I was going to tell you after you had the baby," he said coldly. "I didn't want to stress you out. You were going to wait until after I had our baby to tell me you're leaving me for someone else?" Sarah asked, barely able to breathe through her shock. "Jessica doesn't want me to have another woman's baby in my life," Michael said, looking at the floor. "She thinks we should make a clean break." Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. "This is our child, Michael. We created this baby together." For a moment, something like shame crossed Michael's face, but it quickly hardened. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I've made my decision." The next morning, Sarah woke to find Michael packing her clothes into suitcases. "What are you doing?" she asked. "You need to leave," he said without looking at her. "The house is in my name. I've called your mother. She's expecting you." "My mother lives 2 states away," Sarah protested. "My doctor is here. My job is here." Michael continued packing her things. "That's not my problem anymore." Sarah tried reasoning with him, reminding him of their years together, the baby they had both wanted for so long, but Michael's mind was made up. By afternoon, Sarah's belongings sat in boxes and suitcases by the front door. When she refused to leave, Michael carried her bags to the porch and locked the door behind her. "You can't do this," Sarah cried, banging on the door. "I'm carrying your child." Through the window, she saw Michael on the phone, smiling. He was talking to Jessica. As night fell, Sarah sat in her car in front of what had been her home for the past 6 years. Rain began to fall, matching the tears streaming down her face. She placed one hand protectively over her small baby bump and used the other to start the car. "It's just you and me now," she whispered to her unborn child. "But we're going to be okay." With nowhere else to go, Sarah drove toward the only place she could think of, her childhood friend Emma's apartment across town. She had no idea that in exactly 1 month, her life would change in ways she could never imagine. Emma opened her apartment door to find Sarah standing in the hallway, eyes red from crying, surrounded by 2 suitcases and a box of personal items. "Sarah, what happened?" Emma asked, immediately pulling her friend inside. Through broken sobs, Sarah explained how Michael had thrown her out. Emma listened in shock, making Sarah a cup of tea while setting up her sofa as a temporary bed. "You can stay here as long as you need," Emma insisted, though her 1-bedroom apartment barely had room for herself. That night, Sarah barely slept. The baby kicked repeatedly, as if sensing her mother's distress. By morning, Sarah had made a list of what she needed to do: find a place to live, secure her job, and get a lawyer. Working as a nurse at Memorial Hospital had always been Sarah's dream job. The next day, she went directly to her supervisor, Linda, and explained her situation. "I need as many shifts as possible," Sarah said. "I'm 3 months pregnant, but I can work until the doctor says otherwise." Linda looked concerned. "Extra shifts mean extra stress, Sarah. That's not good for the baby." "I have no choice," Sarah replied. "Michael emptied our joint account. I only have what was in my personal savings. Linda thought for a moment. We have a nurse's studio apartment that's used for out-of-town staff. It's empty right now. You can stay there until you find something permanent. For the first time since Michael had thrown her out, Sarah felt a small ray of hope. The hospital apartment was tiny but clean, with just enough room for a bed, small table, and bathroom. Sarah moved in that evening, carefully arranging the few personal items she had managed to grab before Michael locked her out. The next morning, Sarah visited a lawyer recommended by the hospital's social worker. Lawyer Janet Kim listened carefully to Sarah's story. "What you're describing is abandonment of a pregnant spouse," Janet explained. "That's something judges take very seriously. We'll file for emergency spousal support right away." When Sarah mentioned the empty bank account, Janet's expression darkened. "That's financial abuse. We'll add that to the filing." As Sarah left the lawyer's office, her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Sarah Chen," a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Melissa. I'm Jessica's roommate." Sarah froze on the sidewalk. Jessica, the woman Michael had left her for. "Jessica doesn't know I'm calling you," Melissa continued. "But I think you should know something. Michael told Jessica you two were already separated when they met. He said you agreed to divorce months ago." Sarah clutched her handbag tightly. "That's not true. We were trying for a baby." There was silence on the other end. "I thought so," Melissa finally said. "There's something else. Jessica found some papers in Michael's desk. He took out a large loan 3 months ago. The money's gone, but your name is on the paperwork too." Sarah felt sick. Not only had Michael thrown her out and emptied their account, but he had also put her in debt without her knowledge. "Why are you telling me this?" Sarah asked. "Because what he's doing isn't right," Melissa replied. "And Jessica is pregnant too. 2 months along." The world seemed to spin around Sarah. Michael was having another baby with Jessica, a baby that had been conceived while he and Sarah were still actively trying for their own child. "Thank you for telling me," Sarah managed to say before ending the call. That evening, as Sarah ate a simple dinner alone in the hospital apartment, she felt the baby move again. Despite everything, she smiled and placed her hand on her growing bump. "We're survivors, little one," she whispered. "No matter what your father does, we'll find a way through this." What Sarah didn't know was that Michael's betrayal went far deeper than she could imagine, and the coming weeks would reveal secrets that would change everything. The small hospital apartment became Sarah's sanctuary over the next week. Each morning, she woke before sunrise, pulled on her nurse's scrubs, and headed to work. Her colleagues noticed the dark circles under her eyes but said nothing, respecting her privacy. 14 days after Michael had thrown her out, Sarah received a certified letter. Her hands shook as she opened it, expecting divorce papers. Instead, she found documents from First National Bank. The loan Melissa had mentioned was for $75,000, and Sarah's forged signature appeared on every page. The bank was demanding payment for 3 missed installments. "I never signed this," Sarah whispered, sinking into a chair. The signature looked like hers, but she had no memory of ever seeing these papers. Sarah immediately called her lawyer, who advised her to file a police report for identity theft and forgery. "But it's my husband," Sarah protested weakly. "Who threw you out when you were pregnant and stole your money," Janet reminded her. "This isn't about hurting Michael. This is about protecting yourself and your baby." The police station was cold and impersonal. Officer Rodriguez took Sarah's statement with a sympathetic but professional demeanor. "Financial crimes between spouses are complicated," he explained. "But forgery is forgery. We'll investigate." 2 days later, Sarah was reviewing patient charts when Emma called. "You need to come to my place right now," Emma said, her voice urgent. "Michael's sister Leah is here. She has some of your things." Sarah rushed to Emma's apartment as soon as her shift ended. Leah was waiting with 3 boxes of Sarah's belongings, photo albums, jewelry, and important documents. "I got these when Michael wasn't home," Leah explained, looking nervous. "He doesn't know I'm here." Sarah hugged her sister-in-law. "Thank you, Leah. How did you even know where to find me?" Leah looked down. "I overheard Michael talking to someone on the phone about Emma helping you. I've been watching Emma's building for 2 days, hoping to catch you." Sarah noticed Lee seemed anxious. "What's wrong? Is there something else?" Leah hesitated before pulling out a small flash drive from her pocket. I found this in Michael's desk. I think you should see what's on it. After Leah left, Sarah and Emma plugged the drive into Emma's laptop. It contained hundreds of documents, bank statements, loan applications, and property records, all with Sarah's forged signature. He's taken out loans in both your names for years, Emma said, scrolling through the files. But where did the money go? The answer came in a folder labeled Paradise Investments. Inside were documents showing Michael had invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in a resort development in Thailand. The project had collapsed 6 months ago, taking all the investors' money with it. He lost everything, Sarah whispered. That's why he's been so strange. He was hiding this from me. Among the files was an email from a private investigator Michael had hired. The PI had been following Sarah for months, taking photos of her at work and with friends, looking for evidence of infidelity. The report concluded, no evidence of extramarital relationship found. He was trying to find an excuse to leave you, Emma said angrily. He wanted to blame you for something so he could justify walking away. The next morning, Sarah received a call from Officer Rodriguez. Mrs. Chen, we found some concerning information about your husband's finances. There's evidence of a pattern of fraud going back at least 2 years. We need you to come in and review some documents. As Sarah prepared to leave for the police station, her phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. I know what Michael did. I have proof that will help you. Meet me at Riverside Park at 2 p.m. Come alone. A friend. Sarah stared at the message, wondering who this mysterious ally could be and what they knew. Little did she realize that this meeting would reveal a secret about Michael that would change everything. Sarah stood nervously at the entrance to Riverside Park, scanning the faces of people walking by. Her doctor had warned her about stress during pregnancy, but the past 2 weeks had been nothing but stress. Now, meeting a stranger who claimed to have information about Michael felt dangerous and necessary at the same time. Sarah Chen? She turned to find a tall woman with short gray hair watching her carefully. The woman wore a business suit and carried a leather briefcase. I'm Diana Wells, the woman said, extending her hand. I worked with your husband at Pacific Investment Group. Sarah shook Diana's hand cautiously. You're the friend who texted me. Diana gestured toward a bench away from the walking path. I thought it was better not to use my name. Michael has friends everywhere. Once seated, Diana opened her briefcase and removed a folder. I was the compliance officer at Pacific. 6 months ago, I noticed irregularities in some accounts Michael was managing. When I investigated, I found he had been moving client money into personal accounts offshore. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. He was stealing? Yes. When I confronted him, he begged me not to report him, said he would return the money. Diana's face hardened. 2 days later, I was fired. The official reason was budget cuts, but I knew the truth. Why didn't you go to the police? Sarah asked. I did. They started an investigation, but it moved slowly. Then last month, Michael suddenly paid back all the missing money. The company decided not to press charges to avoid bad publicity. Sarah's mind raced. That must be why he took out all those loans in my name. He needed to replace the stolen money. Diana nodded. But that's not why I contacted you. She pulled out another document. This is a copy of a life insurance policy Michael took out on you 3 months ago. $5 million. Sarah's hands trembled as she read the policy. Why would he? I think you know why, Diana said quietly. A week after taking out this policy, he started asking one of our clients, a known drug dealer we were trying to drop from our client list, about how to find someone who takes care of problems. Sarah placed a protective hand over her baby bump. You think he wants to? I think you're in danger, Diana said firmly. The police are moving too slowly on the financial fraud. This is about your life now. As if to emphasize Diana's warning, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from Michael. We need to talk. I'm coming to the hospital tomorrow. Just want what's best for our baby. Sarah showed Diana the text. This is the first time he's contacted me since throwing me out. Diana's expression grew more concerned. He knows I've been gathering evidence. My house was broken into last night. My files were the only things taken. What should I do? Sarah asked, fear gripping her chest. Get a restraining order immediately. And don't make him alone, no matter what. Diana handed Sarah a small black device. This is a voice recorder. Keep it with you. If he approaches you, make sure it's recording. As they parted ways, Sarah felt a strange pain in her abdomen. Probably just stress, she thought, trying to stay calm. That night, Emma stayed with Sarah in her tiny apartment. They filed an emergency restraining order online and arranged for hospital security to be alerted about Michael. Do you think he really would? Emma couldn't finish the question. I don't know who he is anymore, Sarah replied honestly. The Michael I married would never hurt anyone. But that man is gone. In the early hours of the morning, Sarah awoke to more pain. This time, it was sharper, more intense. She tried to sit up and felt wetness beneath her. Emma, she called out, panic in her voice. Something's wrong. Emma rushed to her side, turning on the light. The sheets were stained with blood. I'm calling an ambulance, Emma said, already dialing. As Sarah was being loaded into the ambulance, a car pulled up across the street. Through her pain and fear, she saw Michael watching from the driver's seat, his face unreadable in the darkness. What neither of them knew was that fate was about to take an unexpected turn that would change everything. Bright lights and urgent voices surrounded Sarah as she was rushed through the emergency room doors. The pain in her abdomen had become unbearable, coming in waves that left her gasping. Pregnant woman, 16 weeks, vaginal bleeding and abdominal pain. The paramedic reported to the waiting medical team. Dr. Patel, a calm woman with kind eyes, took charge immediately. Let's get her to examination room 1. I want an ultrasound stat. Emma followed close behind, clutching Sarah's purse and the voice recorder Diana had given her. I'm her friend. She has no family here, Emma explained to the nurse who tried to stop her. As they wheeled Sarah into the examination room, she gripped Emma's hand. The baby, she whispered. Please save my baby. Dr. Patel worked quickly, her face serious as she examined Sarah and studied the ultrasound screen. After what seemed like hours but was only minutes, she turned to Sarah with a small smile. Your baby has a strong heartbeat, she said. But you're experiencing a condition called placental abruption. Part of the placenta has separated from the uterine wall. Is my baby going to die? Sarah asked, tears streaming down her face. Not if I can help it, Dr. Patel assured her. But you need complete bed rest. We're admitting you to the high-risk pregnancy unit where we can monitor both of you. As nurses prepared to transfer Sarah upstairs, Emma stepped into the hallway to call their lawyer. She froze when she saw Michael standing by the nurse's station, talking to a nurse who was pointing toward Sarah's room. Emma ducked back inside. Michael's here, she whispered to Sarah. What should I do? Sarah's face paled. The recorder. Turn it on and put it under my pillow. Emma quickly activated the device and slipped it beneath Sarah's pillow just as Michael entered the room. His face showed concern, but his eyes were cold. Sarah, he said, moving to her bedside, I came as soon as I heard. Is our baby okay? The nurse helping Sarah glanced between them. I'll give you a moment, she said, stepping out. Emma positioned herself on the other side of Sarah's bed. I'm staying. Michael ignored her. I've been thinking, Sarah. This situation has gotten out of hand. I want us to try again, for our baby's sake. Sarah studied her husband's face, remembering Diana's warning. You threw me out. You emptied our accounts. You forged my signature on loans. I was under a lot of pressure, Michael said smoothly. I made mistakes, but I've fixed everything now. The money is back where it belongs. What about Jessica? Sarah asked. Emma told me she's pregnant too. Michael's face hardened momentarily before he forced a smile. That was a mistake. I've ended things with her. You're my wife, Sarah. You and our baby are what matter. He reached for her hand, but Sarah pulled away. I filed a restraining order against you tonight. Michael's expression changed instantly. The fake concern vanished, replaced by cold anger. You've been talking to Diana Wells, haven't you? He leaned closer. Diana doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just angry about being fired. Please leave, Sarah said, her heart racing dangerously on the monitor beside her bed. I'm not going anywhere, Michael said, his voice low. That's my baby you're carrying. A baby you didn't want 2 weeks ago, Emma interjected. Michael turned to Emma. his face dark with rage. "This doesn't concern you." The monitor beside Sarah began beeping rapidly. Almost immediately, Dr. Paddle rushed in with two nurses. "What's happening here?" Dr. Paddle demanded, noting Sarah's elevated vitals. "Sir, I need you to step out immediately." "I'm her husband," Michael protested. "And I'm her doctor," Dr. Paddle replied firmly. "She needs calm and quiet. Security will escort you to the waiting room." As a security guard led Michael away, he looked back at Sarah with an expression that chilled her blood. "This isn't over," he said. What Michael didn't know was that the recorder had captured every word, and that fate was about to deliver the most unexpected twist of all. For 3 days, Sarah remained in the high-risk pregnancy unit. The bleeding had stopped, but Dr. Paddle insisted she stay for observation. Emma brought her clothes and books and took the recording of Michael's threats to the police. Officer Rodriguez visited Sarah's hospital room the next day. "We've added the recording to your case file," he explained. "And we're enforcing the restraining order. Michael cannot come within 100 feet of you." "Will that be enough?" Sarah asked, remembering the cold look in Michael's eyes. Officer Rodriguez's expression was serious. "We've also frozen all accounts with your name on them while we investigate the fraud allegations. You won't be able to access that money." That afternoon, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. A nervous young woman with blonde hair and a small baby bump stood in her doorway. "Jessica?" Sarah recognized her from social media photos. Jessica nodded, stepping cautiously into the room. "I know I'm the last person you want to see." "Why are you here?" Sarah asked, trying to stay calm for her baby's sake. Jessica sat in the chair beside Sarah's bed. "Michael told me you agreed to divorce months ago. He said you two were already separated when we met." Tears filled her eyes. "I found out that was a lie when Melissa called you. Then 2 days ago, he showed up at my apartment furious, saying I'd ruined everything by letting Melissa contact you." "Did he hurt you?" Sarah asked, noticing a faint bruise on Jessica's wrist. Jessica pulled her sleeve down. "He grabbed me, said I needed to convince you to drop the fraud charges. When I refused, she paused, taking a deep breath. "He threatened that I'd lose my baby if I didn't help him." Sarah felt a chill run through her body. "Has he threatened you before?" "Not directly, but he has these mood swings. Sometimes he's charming and loving, then suddenly he's someone else, cold and scary." Jessica wiped tears from her face. "I didn't know who else to turn to. The police said I don't have enough for a restraining order yet." Sarah reached for the call button. "Let me get my friend Emma. She knows a lawyer who can help you." While they waited for Emma, Jessica shared more disturbing information. Michael's been selling his expensive things, his watch collection, his car. He told me he's planning to leave the country. He has a friend with a private plane. "When?" Sarah asked, alarmed. "Tomorrow night. He said he has one last thing to take care of, then we'd leave together." Jessica looked at Sarah with frightened eyes. "I think the last thing involves you." When Emma arrived, she immediately called Officer Rodriguez while Jessica repeated everything to Sarah's lawyer over the phone. Within an hour, police officers were dispatched to find Michael, but he wasn't at his home or office. That evening, Dr. Paddle came to check on Sarah. "Your blood pressure is too high," she said with concern. "I'm keeping you another night at minimum." As darkness fell, Sarah tried to sleep but kept startling awake, imagining Michael lurking in the shadows. Emma had gone home to get more of Sarah's things, promising to return in the morning. Around midnight, Sarah woke to a strange smell. Smoke was seeping under her door. The hospital fire alarm began blaring, and she could hear commotion in the hallway. "Fire on the 3rd floor. Evacuate all patients," someone shouted. A nurse rushed into Sarah's room. "We need to move you," she said, quickly disconnecting Sarah's monitors. "Can you walk to the wheelchair?" As the nurse helped Sarah into the wheelchair, the lights in the room flickered and went out. Emergency lights came on, hasting everything in an eerie glow. The nurse wheeled Sarah toward the door, but stopped suddenly. A dark figure stood in the doorway. "I'll take my wife from here," Michael said, stepping into the room. The nurse backed away. "Sir, we have evacuation protocols." "Get out," Michael ordered, his voice deadly quiet. "Now." As the nurse fled, Sarah realized with horror that the chaos around them wasn't an accident. Michael had created a diversion. He smiled at her terrified face. It's time to go, Sarah. Our flight leaves in 3 hours. What Michael didn't know was that fate had one more card to play, and it would change everything. Smoke filled the hallway as Michael gripped the handles of Sarah's wheelchair. Hospital staff rushed past them, focused on evacuating patients from the growing fire. No one noticed that Sarah's face showed fear, not of the fire, but of the man behind her. You set the fire, Sarah said, her voice shaking. You could kill people. It's just a small fire in a storage room, Michael replied calmly. Security systems in hospitals are easy to override. It's amazing what you can learn on the internet. As Michael pushed her toward the service elevator, Sarah pressed the small panic button Dr. Paddle had given her. A special alert that would notify hospital security and the police. Where are you taking me? Sarah asked, trying to keep him talking. Somewhere we can start over, Michael said. I have new identities for us. Once the baby is born, we'll be a happy family in a country with no extradition treaty. The service elevator doors opened. Michael pushed her inside and pressed the button for the parking garage. What about Jessica? Sarah asked. And her baby? Michael's face darkened. Jessica talked too much. She won't be a problem anymore. Fear gripped Sarah's heart. What did you do to her? Nothing she didn't deserve, Michael said coldly. She should have kept her mouth shut. The elevator descended slowly. Sarah's mind raced, searching for a way to escape. The baby moved inside her, as if sensing her fear. The police know everything, Michael, Sarah said, about the fraud, the offshore accounts, the insurance policy on me. They're looking for you right now. By the time they figure anything out, we'll be gone. Michael checked his watch. My friend is waiting with his plane. In 6 hours, we'll be somewhere no one can find us. The elevator doors opened to the dark parking garage. Michael pushed Sarah's wheelchair toward a van with tinted windows parked in the corner. As they approached, Sarah saw someone sitting in the driver's seat. You're not alone, she said, hope fading. Did you think I would try this without help? Michael laughed. My friend Robert is very good at making people disappear. As they neared the van, its door slid open. But instead of a criminal accomplice, Sarah saw Officer Rodriguez sitting inside, gun drawn. Police! Don't move, he shouted. Michael froze, then suddenly yanked Sarah from the wheelchair, pulling her against his chest. She felt something cold and hard press against her side. Back off or I'll kill her, Michael shouted. More police officers appeared from behind cars, all with weapons aimed at Michael. Let her go, Chen, Officer Rodriguez said calmly. There's nowhere to run. How did you find us? Michael demanded. Jessica isn't dead, a woman's voice called out. Diana Wells stepped from behind a police car. She's safe. She told us your plan after you attacked her. Michael's grip tightened around Sarah. You're lying. I left her bleeding in her apartment. She survived, Diana said. And the tracker I put in Sarah's hospital gown led us right to you. Sarah felt Michael's body tense. For a moment, she thought he might shoot her despite the police presence. Then, unexpectedly, he shoved her forward. She fell hard onto the concrete floor of the garage as Michael turned to run. Freeze! Officer Rodriguez shouted. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Michael reached inside his jacket. A police officer fired. Michael staggered, then fell. Pain shot through Sarah's body as she lay on the cold concrete. Not from the fall, but from something deeper. Warm liquid pooled beneath her. My baby, she cried out. Please help my baby. As paramedics rushed to her side, Sarah's last conscious thought was of her child. Everything she had endured, being thrown out, the threats, the terror. None of it mattered except the tiny life inside her. The last thing she heard before darkness took her was a paramedic's urgent voice. We're losing them both. No one in that garage could have predicted what would happen next, the truly unthinkable twist that fate had in store. Bright light filtered through Sarah's eyelids as she slowly regained consciousness. The steady beep of monitors filled the room. She tried to move but felt too weak. Panic seized her as memory flooded back. Michael, the garage, falling, blood. My baby, she whispered, her hand moving to her stomach. Instead of the firm bump she expected, she felt bandages. Sarah? You're awake. Emma's voice came from beside the bed. Her friend looked exhausted, with dark circles under red-rimmed eyes. "My baby," Sarah repeated, fear making her voice shake. "Emma, please." Emma took Sarah's hand, tears filling her eyes. "The doctors had to perform an emergency C-section. You were bleeding internally from the placental abruption. When you fell in the garage..." Sarah's heart seemed to stop. "Is my baby dead?" "No," Emma said quickly. "Your daughter is alive. She's very small, just under 2 pounds, but she's fighting." Relief washed over Sarah, so powerful she began to sob. "She's alive. My little girl is alive." "The doctors say you were both incredibly lucky. If the police hadn't been there with paramedics already on standby, you might both have died." Emma squeezed Sarah's hand. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." "Michael?" Sarah asked. Emma's expression hardened. "He survived. The bullet hit his shoulder. He's under police guard in another wing of the hospital. They've charged him with attempted murder, arson, fraud, and a dozen other crimes." Dr. Paddle entered the room, smiling when she saw Sarah awake. "There's someone who wants to meet you," she said. A nurse followed, carefully pushing a clear incubator. Inside, connected to tubes and monitors, lay a tiny pink baby no bigger than Sarah's hand. Despite her size, she moved her arms and legs with surprising strength. "Can I touch her?" Sarah asked, tears streaming down her face. The nurse carefully opened a small port in the side of the incubator. Sarah reached in, gently touching her daughter's miniature hand. Tiny fingers wrapped around her pinky with surprising strength. "She needs a name," Dr. Paddle said softly. Sarah looked at the tiny fighter who had survived against all odds. "Hope," she whispered. "Her name is Hope." The next week brought many changes. Sarah recovered slowly while visiting Hope in the NICU every day. The police kept her updated on the case against Michael. Jessica had indeed survived his attack and was cooperating with authorities. Diana Wells provided crucial evidence of Michael's financial crimes. Most surprisingly, Michael's mother Helen arrived from overseas. Unlike her son, Helen was warm and kind. She had been unaware of what Michael had done, having been told by him that Sarah had left him. "I came as soon as I heard the truth," Helen told Sarah, sitting beside her hospital bed. "I'm so sorry for what my son did to you." "It wasn't your fault," Sarah replied, watching as Helen gazed adoringly at Hope in her incubator. "I want to help," Helen said firmly. "Michael disgraced our family name, but I won't abandon my granddaughter or you." 1 month after Michael had thrown Sarah out of their home, she sat in her hospital room holding Hope against her chest for the first time. Though still tiny, Hope had grown stronger each day, surprising even the doctors with her progress. Emma entered with a newspaper. "You made the front page," she said, showing Sarah the headline. "Pregnant nurse survives husband's murder plot, delivers miracle baby." The story had captured public attention. Donations poured in from strangers touched by Sarah's ordeal. A local real estate agent offered Sarah a small house at reduced rent. The hospital created a special part-time position, allowing Sarah to work while caring for Hope. As Sarah looked down at her daughter's peaceful face, she marveled at how much had changed in just 1 month. She had lost a husband but gained a daughter. She had faced death but found new life. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time since Michael had thrown her out, Sarah felt hope for the future. "We made it," she whispered to her sleeping daughter. "The worst is behind us. Now we have nothing but tomorrows." Outside her window, spring flowers bloomed in the hospital garden, a reminder that even after the darkest times, new beginnings were possible.